This is Adam Marcus, director of Jason Goes to Hell, Secret Santa, the writer of Texas Chainsaw 3D, and the producer of the upcoming documentary Hearts of Darkness, The Making of the Final Friday. And you're listening on the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast. Damn Skippy.
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Welcome back to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast. We really appreciate everyone who's been listening. Tonight we have a super special guest on the line, the director of Jason Goes to Hell, the movie we're reviewing tonight, and a more recent horror film, Texas Chainsaw 3D, Adam Marcus. I'm just going to read off a few fun facts about him, and then we're going to just give him a few questions for him to answer for us. In 1993, New Line purchased the rights to Friday the 13th for the purpose of matching up Freddy and Jason for a battle. Obviously, there was even more rights issues that caused that to be postponed for nearly another decade. Fresh off of Freddy's death, New Line decided to make their own Jason movie before bringing them together and brought back Sean Cunningham, who hadn't been hands-on with the franchise since it began. Cunningham wanted the supposed Final Friday to be different than the other installments to the franchise and tapped young and up-and-coming director Adam Marcus to kill Jason. Thank you, Adam, for being on our show. Adam, while at NYU, Marcus won Best Picture for his comedy film, So You Like This Girl. And at 21, Marcus set up his first feature film at Disney, and less than a year later was hired to write and direct Jason Goes to Hell. Most recently released the horror movie Secret Santa, but most known for Texas Chainsaw 3D, and the movie that got co-host Brian into horror back in 1993, Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday. Adam, thank you for joining us. Would you like to just say anything before we jump into these questions?
It's just awesome to be with you guys. I'm looking forward to it.
Man, we really appreciate it, honestly. My first question I have for you, Adam, is could you talk a little bit about how you got into directing and writing movies and how you really got involved with the Cunningham family and how that all tied together?
Sure. So what happened was, as a kid, my whole family was in some way involved with business, and mostly actors. That was most of the group, and a couple of my family members you guys would probably know, like Ned Eisenberg, who is one of the stars of the movie The Burning,
yes,
which is the first Miramax movie.
Mm-hmm.
He plays Eddie, the guy who tries to make it with the girl in the lake, and then gets stabbed with the shears through his neck on the raft. Him and that whole group of campers. Anyway, my uncle Joe Ellison was the writer and director of Don't Go in the House, the 1981 kind of cult classic horror movie about the pyromaniac who burns women up. My brother Kip was a television star, and then he was a star on Broadway. And so in the mix of all of this stuff, I was, completely involved in the arts as a child. And my best friend growing up was Noel Cunningham, Sean Cunningham's son.
Okay.
So Noel and I were buddies since we were 8 years old. And then anytime I was at their house, I was around all of these kind of amazing film people, including, guys like Steve Miner and Susan Cunningham and Wes Craven. So truly, I was raised among all of these sort of, titans of that, especially the horror genre. In fact, I did the first reading of the screenplay for A Nightmare on Elm Street for Wes.
Wow.
Yeah. I played the Johnny
Nice.
Depp character.
Oh, wow.
So I was always sort of in the mix on this stuff. And when it came to Sean, I was always at their house and always underfoot, and then started to kind of PA for him. And by the time I was 13, I was apprentice editing for his wife, Susan Cunningham, on the movie Spring Break, which is an incredibly inappropriate movie for a 13-year-old to be working on. I literally went through puberty in about 2 weeks. On that movie. So this was sort of my training ground. And when I was 15, I created my first theater company of two that I created in my teens. And I started teaching when I was 15. And the money that I made from teaching and from that theater company, because again, this is Westport, Connecticut. This is about 40 miles outside of Manhattan. It was incredibly profitable to do theater. It was just a place where, our theater company in high school would pay for the football team.
Oh, wow.
So it was that kind of a situation. In fact, the high school was built around a pre-existing theater where the Doors played, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin. I mean, it's like this amazing 1,400 seat house. Wow. And so that's where I learned. So I went to NYU using the money that I'd made at creating a theater company. And in my time at NYU, I ended up winning Best Picture for a pretty bold comedy. It's kind of John Hughes meets David Mamet.
Right.
So it's a lot of kids swearing, which seemed to go over well. But what's crazy about that movie is that if you guys ever seen Reno 911? That show?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So Tom Lennon, Officer Dangle, the guy who created the show, but also the guy in the super short shorts with the mustache.
Yeah.
He was the lead of my student film. Joe Latruglio, who's the star of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, who plays Andy Samberg's partner.
Yeah.
That was the other lead of my film.
Wow.
What?
So every person who was in my movie at NYU
badass.
ended up like these incredible careers, right? So these are all my boys. And so, in fact, the girl of the movie was my girlfriend at the time, a girl named Deborah Kaplan. She wrote and directed Can't Hardly Wait and Josie and the Pussycats.
Okay.
So so we had this sort of star-studded cast of people who weren't stars yet, but they were kicking ass early on. So I make this movie, and because the film was not considered, this is literally the dean of NYU told me this, the movie was not considered NYU enough, which meant it was funny. NYU they don't love that. It was in color. No one was speaking with French subtitles. So the movie was sort of an anti-pretension movie in what is a very pretentious film school. And I loved NYU. Don't get me wrong. I love the place. But the dean, even though the film had swept the awards, we won Best Picture, a cinematography award. We won for the first time in NYU's history, the Cast Ensemble Award, which gave every actor in the film an award for the movie. Wow. We had this incredibly successful film. They would not bring it to Los Angeles. They would not bring it to Hollywood because it didn't represent NYU's core values. So I had 2 job offers off the movie, which had just swept the awards. One was from David Lynch and Mark Frost for season 2 of Twin Peaks to write on their staff. And the other one was from Sean Cunningham, who had moved to Los Angeles by that point. And he called me up and said, look, I'll come be my bitch for a year and I'll give you your shot. And I was like, like any numbskull 21-year-old, I was like, I'm heading to LA.
Hell yeah.
Jumped the first plane. I had paid off all my student loans. I had paid off my student films. I was debt free, but all I had left in my pocket. I had $300 left in my pocket and no driver's license because I'd been living in New York for 4 years.
Mm-hmm. No need.
So, right. So who needs a driver's license? Well, when you get to LA, So I bought a car for the $300 that I had. It was a 63 VW Bug Canary Yellow, which is, by the way, the exact same color as the color and make model as the car Kevin Bacon drives in Footloose. Which brings me again back to Friday the 13th, since Kevin is one of the leads of the original Friday.
Right.
So here I am living in a car, VW, mind you, that I can't drive legally because I still have no driver's license. So this is how I get to LA. And what I had with me, I had brought this screenplay called Johnny Zombie. And it was a script that I workshopped for three years with my best friend in college, this guy, Dean Laurie. And so Dean and I were super close. We'd really crafted this script. And this was the movie I wanted to make as my debut. This was going to be my first feature film. So I bring it to Los Angeles, and I had a lot of friends from NYU who were working in catering. So I said, look, get me into any kind of like charity event. Get me to a place where people are feeling charitable, and I'll try to schmooze people and pitch them the movie. So there I would show up in a tuxedo. My friends would get me in through the kitchen of like these, like the Beverly Hills Hotel and stuff like this. I would swing into these charity events and mingle. And I got Roger Corman's wife to dance with me. I asked her to dance. I knew who she was. I asked her to dance.
Damn.
We're out on the dance floor. And she's asking me about myself and asking about her and saying, oh my God, I'm such a huge fan of you, blah, blah, blah. And we're out on the dance floor and I pitch her Johnny Zombie. And the minute I say the words Johnny Zombie, she's like, oh my God, I love that title. I was like, I thought you might. So I pitch her the story. She says, I think it sounds incredible. Her and her husband were in a competition that year to see which one of them could make the fastest, cheapest movie. And I was like, sign me up. So she said, send it to my office tomorrow. So then what I do is I leave that ball. I call Noel Cunningham immediately. Call my best buddy. I tell him this whole story, knowing full well that Noel will call his dad.
Right.
I just know it's going to happen. The next morning, I'm at the office and I'm making a copy of the script. Sean comes in, sees the script laying on my desk, goes, "What's that?" I said, "It's the movie I want to direct." He pulls it off my desk, walks into his office, slams the door. I'm like, "Okay, cool,
wow, awesome."
About 100 minutes later, he opens the door. He screams out, "Marcus!" So I run down the hall to him. He sits me down. He says, "Okay, I hate this script, but I love the title. So I'm going to give you $1.5 million. You'll go back to Connecticut and shoot this thing." I was like, "What? Wow. What am I going to do now? What now?" So, by the way, forgive my voice, guys. I've had this flu that everybody in LA has had, so my voice is a little bit dead. So, yeah. I say, look, that's awesome. Like, when do we get started? He said, well, first I want to hire a real writer to write this thing, to fix this. And I was like, no. And he's like, what do you mean no? I said, I'm not screwing my buddy over. My buddy wrote this and I've been workshopping this with him for years and I'm not going to do that to him. So it's no sale if you're not going to let my guy do this. And he was like, wow, the ball's on you. I said, yeah, yep. I said, but Good. You know what? And this is my philosophy that I've lived with my whole life. The most dangerous guy in the room is the guy with nothing to lose. Mm-hmm. And I had nothing to lose. I'm like, what am I going to lose? I'll be the same tomorrow as I am today. Okay. Right. So I said, look, do a favor for me. Fly Dean Laurie out to LA. Put the two of us up in the shittiest hotel you can find and give us your notes and let us rewrite for 6 weeks. Give us 6 weeks to fix the script. And he bought it. And nice. Really, for me, I was trying to get my buddy the job and I was trying to get the fuck out of the car so that I didn't have to sleep in a car anymore. Right. So cut to the two of us end up at this hotel up on Sunset and the 405. And we rewrote for 6 weeks. When we finished, Sean loved the fucking script, just loved it. And with my training and sort of one of the things that I helped Sean with a lot was that because of my theater background, I would do these staged readings of our screenplays, the same way you do a stage reading of a play. And our whole philosophy was, people in Hollywood do not read. They just don't read. This is a true thing. For many years, my agent for a decade was this guy named Nick Reed. He had the single most ironic name in our industry because he never read a script as long as I knew him. Anyway, so what I said, look, why don't we get great actors to read our scripts and then invite the executives to sit and watch a reading? Then we're reading it for them. They don't even have to fucking read it. We'll read it to them and we'll get really good people. So the very first reading of Johnny Zombie, this is true, Johnny was played by my next door neighbor for 3 years at NYU, Adam Sandler.
What?
Wow.
Wow.
Yep. And you guys remember The Facts of Life? Remember Mrs. Garrett from The Facts of Life?
Yes,
She played Johnny's mother. I knew her. I knew Charlotte from back in New York.
Okay.
I had the Tony Award winner George Hearn, who played Sweeney Todd on Broadway, who won the Tony for that. He was playing Johnny's father. So, I mean, I had this like incredible New York Broadway cast doing this reading. Well, we end up in a bidding war between New Line and Disney. Both factions came to the reading. They both freaking loved it. Sean, of course, being Sean, went for the money. And Disney had deeper pockets, so he immediately jumped to Disney. And I was like, I kept looking at him like, Sean, wrong guys, man. They're the wrong guys to make this movie. I'm telling you, it's a mistake. So we sell the movie to Disney. Sean has a ton of money. And the only thing that Disney wanted to do, they only had one note for the movie. The note was, can you get rid of the zombies?
Wow.
I was like, what? They said, we love everything about it. Can you get rid of the zombies? I said, but it's called Johnny Zombie. They said, yeah, about that. Could he seem like more, like less dead and more like tired? I was like, oh, come on. So that movie went into development, which was a nightmare for my buddy Dean. And it ended up becoming the movie My Boyfriend's Back.
Gotcha.
So that's the first film that I set up at Disney with Cunningham Productions. So when that went that way, I went to Sean. I said, look, they're making an $8 million movie. They're never going to let me direct this film. And I hate the movie they're turning this into.
Right.
So, and it was funny because I had already chosen all the locations where the movie shot. I had done all the work to make this movie happen. So Sean said, at that point, he said, Adam, he said, you know what your greatest quality is? And I said, what? He said, you're the world's biggest nudge. He says, but that's the best thing I could say about you. And at the time, I thought he was telling me to go fuck myself. He was actually giving me a compliment. It was actually true. Because I am somebody who, like, I will not hear the word no. I just don't hear it.
Right.
And it's constantly about how do we make this work? And so he said, look, he said, here's what I can do. He said, New Line is buying Friday the 13th from Paramount. If you can get that fucking hockey mask out of the movie, I'll let you direct the movie. I was like,
wow.
Okay. Yeah, if that's the job, got it. So here's the thing. It's the craziest fucking request for somebody to get because I'm a huge Friday fan. I was there when they shot the first movie, for fuck's sake. I mean, I love these movies. And now the guy is telling me, listen, can you get rid of the thing that everybody loves?
Right.
And then you can make the movie. So, because here's the thing, you know, the thing that nobody ever wants to talk about Sean specifically is, look, this guy created the first movie. The first movie is about a mom killing camp counselors for letting her son drown in the lake. That's it. That's what the movie's about.
Right.
Jason shows up for about 14 seconds. That's it. He hated that part 2 was going to be about Jason. Hated it. He wanted to do what John Carpenter wanted to do, which was John Carpenter didn't want to make movies about Michael Myers. He wanted to make Tales of Halloween.
Shared universe.
Sean,
right.
Exactly.
Right.
Sean wanted a series of films that were about bad things that happen on Friday the 13th. Not about some kid named Jason. So when they go to make Friday 2, they're like, we're going to make it about Jason. He was like, the little kid in the lake? They said, yeah, but he's big now. Okay. And we're going to put a sack over his head. Sean was like, oh, great. So it's the horror movie version of the Elephant Man. So he hated the sack, but his wife is the editor on the movie, and Steve Miner, his protege, directs the film. Great. They get to part 3, and they're like, yeah, he's going to find a hockey mask in a barn. Like, he's going to do what now? Sean hated the hockey. Like, this is the stupidest shit he had ever seen. He hated the hockey mask, right? So he has nothing to do with anything from part 3 to part 8. He literally all he does is cash a check. That's it. Right. He has no creative control. He doesn't do anything with it. When part 9 happened, Sean wanted money. Sean needed the money. So Sean said, okay, I'll produce this movie. but I fucking hate that hockey mask.
Right.
So that's where I got my marching orders. And 3 days later, I presented him with a treatment for the movie, which he loved. We started workshopping it from there. Pretty soon after, Dean Lorey got involved. And yeah, I was 22 when we wrote the script. I was 23 when I directed the movie. And the movie came out a couple days after my 25th birthday.
Well,
So
let me,
that's
Adam, Miss Brian,
Yeah.
let me just, I'll say that, that definitely at 37 makes me feel like I have not done anything with my life. I don't know. about
Right. I was
yourself.
gonna say.
Right.
Holy shit.
Were there, Adam, were there other challenges to being so young, and getting something like Friday the 13th, or was it kind of like your other script where you were just, hey, not accepting no for an answer and going for it?
Look, here's the thing. I had to do a director's test for New Line, which went well, so that was good. So I did have to shoot something. But my favorite part of the director's test, the first day I go in to meet with Bob Shea, and it's hilarious. I mean, it's a beautiful office in the middle of Los Angeles, and everything. There's a huge Freddy standee when you walk in the door. There's all these Freddy
Right.
toys all over the place, because it's the house that Freddy built, and there's Bob Shea, who is not what anyone would call like a sweet fellow, but
I've seen
he
New
literally,
Nightmare.
this is no joke, he gave me a 20 question oral examination of horror movies. I'm not kidding.
Oh, wow.
Jeez.
And I was like, wow, is this happening? Okay, cool. And so I surprised him with a couple of my answers that I knew as much as I actually knew. And suddenly he was like, he turns to Sean and goes, well, he doesn't suck. And
Wow.
Mike DeLuca turns to me and like gives me a thumbs up. He's like, you got him. So then I had to go shoot, I shoot a director's test. When I was casting the movie and when I was and getting my crew, I had a full beard. And I've had I was one of those kids like in my mid-teens, I could grow a beard. So here I have this full beard. I cast everybody, I do all my work so that people think I'm young, but they don't know how young I am. On my first day of production, we were shooting in July and August in Los Angeles. So it was fucking hot. So I was like, if I don't shave this beard off, I'm going to die. So I shaved the beard and mustache. I get to set. My cinematographer, who's an amazing guy and a friend to this day, he says in front of my 100-person crew, he says, how the fuck young are you?
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, shit. It's like, I'm pretty young, dude. Here's the thing. To this day, I'm still the youngest writer-director hired by a major studio.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yes,
Thank you. Thanks, man. Thank you. Here's the thing. While I was very lucky and I felt very lucky because I've been working in the business since I was 11, I don't think of it as like, oh, I just showed up. You know what I mean?
Right.
And when I was in New York, when I was at NYU, I worked for a company called R. Greenberg and Associates. And I worked on things like Goodfellas.
Right.
And
Wow.
Silence of the Lambs. And, like I worked with amazing filmmakers and doing this like really cool FX work in New York. So I had already been around some incredible movie makers. And I kind of was like, fuck it, man. I got a job. I'm going to do this job. And so I will tell you this, the first day I get to set, I had a shot list that was almost 50 shots long, 50. Now, when I was making my own movies, when I was a student filmmaker, I could do that easy. When you're working with a crew of over 100 people, no, like you can't do that. So my first AD looks at my list, walks over to Sean and goes, Sean? Of course, then Dad runs over. Marcus, what the hell's wrong with you? You got to cut this in half. You can't even have half these shots.
Wow.
So there is a photograph of me at a picnic table that they had set up for lunch before I shoot anything. And I'm sitting there with my pen in my hand and my shot list, tearing my shot list to pieces, right? Combining shots, figuring out how to do it. I shot 27 shots that day, which was amazing, right? Amazing. Nobody could believe that we got that much. By the time we finished the shoot, though, our average per day was 39 shots a day. That was our average.
Damn.
Wow. I don't listen to people who tell me that it can't be done. I think that's bullshit. You can do anything. You can make any movie on any budget. It's so easy to make it all about money, to make it all about stuff. The truth is, Jason Goes to Hell was made in a tiny budget, much smaller than any of the Paramount films other than the first movie.
Right.
So we made the movie for $2.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
And I had 37 shooting days. I had an effect and a stunt working every single day of the show. I have, for my money, one of the most expensive looking of the films. And look, from an effects standpoint, no one comes close to the effects in Jason Goes to Hell as far as the Friday franchise.
Absolutely.
I mean,
I agree 100%.
It is splatterpunk, that movie. So, and look, I had K&B. I had Bob Kurtzman and Greg Nicotero and Howard Berger when they were trying to prove themselves on every freaking job. Like, they're amazing. Bob Kurtzman is still one of my best friends. And we work together to this day. And the thing is that, those guys, I know that K&B lost money on Jason Goes to Hell. Greg Nicotero wanted to kill me because we kept spending money, and I wasn't asking them to. It's just the guys, Bob and Howard, would get so excited about an effect. They would go nuts on making sure that it was perfect. So, yeah, I wasn't really intimidated. I got to tell you this. My youth, I think, has been more of a problem for the people who don't like the movie. So they chalk it up to, oh, this fucking guy didn't know anything, blah, blah, blah. Okay, whatever. And that's fine. That's fine. If that's how people feel, that's how people feel. Right. But for me, I never really saw it as a hindrance that I was young. I love movies so much, and I love the franchise so much. I was super fucking prepared. I knew what I wanted to achieve with the movie. I knew what I was trying to say. I rehearsed my actors for weeks before the film. That never happened on any other Friday the 13th film. I chose actors that weren't all like hot teenagers. I chose like everybody from teenagers all the way through to like older people in the movie because I wanted to have an incredible cast of great actors. And when I called all of them up and said, look, I'm giving you my time for free. Anybody who wants to rehearse, let's do it.
Right.
And there are actors in that movie to this day who I'm still close with who will call me up and go, I still can't believe we actually had rehearsals on a fucking Friday the 13th movie. I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't we? Right. So yeah, it was never really, no, not intimidating. That's for sure.
Awesome. Well, you touched on this just a little bit with Cunningham and the view he had of the movie versus what you were wanting to do with it, and to get rid of the fucking hockey mask. I know that there's some YouTube video floating around from a convention where he was asked about saying that and he lied about it. Can you kind of set the record straight on that a little bit?
Sure. Look, the Secret Santa has been touring recently, and we've done 22 festivals around the world. And this question comes up a lot because sometimes they'll show Jason Goes to Hell and Secret Santa back to back at these festivals.
Right.
When the question comes up, I always tell everybody in the audience, I'm like, great, everybody take out your cell phone, please, and feel free to post this to YouTube. I'm asking you to post it to YouTube. I said, okay, I want everybody to imagine a scenario where a 22-year-old kid who's just graduated NYU, moved to LA. That 22-year-old kid is standing in the office of one Sean S. Cunningham. Sean Cunningham, at the time, is in his 50s. Okay? And he is Sean Cunningham, creator of Friday the 13th franchise, of the House franchise. This is a big filmmaker. And one of two things happens. Either Sean says, Adam, what do you want to do with your Friday 13th movie? And I say, well, the first thing I want to do is get rid of that fucking hockey mask. And Sean says, wow, Adam, you're so powerful and so moving in your passion for this I will totally get rid of the iconic hockey mask in my hugely successful franchise. And that makes me the most powerful 22-year-old to ever take breath.
Right.
Or Sean Cunningham said, "Hey, Adam, get the fucking hockey mask out of the movie and I'll let you write and direct the film." And I said, "Whatever you need, boss. Got it."
Right,
Which
right.
makes me a good soldier.
Yes, it does.
So here's the deal. So either Sean Cunningham is a fucking eunuch that a 22-year-old film school brat tells what to do, or Sean Cunningham is a fucking liar. So either way, I come out looking great. Either I am so fucking powerful, I changed the course of horror history all on my own. It's being told to do. I'll take the one. I'll take either whatever.
Right.
Either he's a liar. I'm good. I'm good either way.
Go ahead, Mike.
Sorry, he broke up.
Are we there?
Okay.
Hey, Adam. Can you repeat that about changing horror history one more time? It kind of went out for a little bit. We couldn't hear you.
Sure. You got it, guys. So either this guy, either I am the most powerful 22-year-old who ever lived, and I changed the course of horror cinema history, or I was a good soldier doing what I was asked to do. On the flip side of it, Sean is either a total puss or he's a fucking liar. So
Right.
I'll take either one. Now, literally, the volley is set back to Sean. He can say whatever kind of bullshit he wants. The truth is that Sean should actually. I know a lot about Sean. Again, I've been around since I was 8 years old in his house. Sean is a renowned liar, and most of the people who have ever worked with him know that. Ask Victor Miller how Sean is on being a legitimate dude. Okay, and here's the thing. Sean should start to worry about his own integrity before questioning anybody else's. I was a kid. I loved Sean. Sean was like a father to me. And when Sean pulled that shit, I was like, you know what, man?
Right.
This is why your kids don't like you.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I love it. So I mean, they kind of touch on that in the big long 9-hour Friday the 13th documentary. They touch on that. So I'm glad you touched on it on our show. So piggybacking off of that, by the way, this is Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Did you have your own different version of what you wanted the movie to be? Like maybe in a perfect world without getting told to get rid of the hockey mask, the iconic mask. What would you have done different? Was there another script at all? Or did you have anything that may have tied into the first 8 films?
Well, yes, I did. Actually. And what's really frustrating is originally the character of Stephen Freeman, played by John D. LeMay, that character was supposed to be Tommy Jarvis.
Okay.
The problem is that the deal that Sean and New Line made with Paramount was so fucking terrible that the only thing we could use was Jason. We could only use stuff from the first movie. We couldn't use anything past that, including the name Friday the 13th.
I was going to say you couldn't. Right, you couldn't use the name. That's right.
Right. So I couldn't have Tommy Jarvis. I wanted it to be the end of the Tommy Jarvis saga. I wanted Tommy to finish off Jason. That was kind of the whole thing.
Right.
And so suddenly they're saying to me, you can't have Tommy. I'm like, okay. So that was a huge change to the movie.
Right.
The other thing, my first treatment for the film was much, much darker. Like, guys, really fucking dark. I mean,
well, we love that. So.
Like even more violent than the movie is as it is now.
Wow.
It was this very kind of raw, angry movie because I kind of felt like, well, part 6 does the comedy so brilliantly. I was like, well, I was worried about going comedy, even though that's what I ended up doing with Jason Goes to Hell. But my first take on the material was more about Jason's brother, Elias. And this is back when Elias was not his father. That was something that was invented in Jason Goes to Hell when we ended up using the name Elias. But Elias was originally Jason's brother. And here was the thing. Elias was the brother that mommy didn't like. So you can imagine how bad that brother is. Like if she loves Jason,
Right.
imagine the kid she doesn't love.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And it was this sort of struggle for supremacy between these two kids, between Jason and Elias. We had a lot of flashback stuff. It was fucking ugly. It was an ugly ass movie.
Wow.
Yeah. So yes, I definitely had a different movie in my head at the beginning. I will tell you, look, if I was given a chance to make a Friday the 13th movie, let's say today, right? If someone said, you can do whatever you want with franchise, go for it. The movie I would make is my favorite thing about Jason Goes to Hell. My favorite creation of that movie is Creighton Duke.
Oh, I love that character, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love
Thank you, brother.
Creighton Duke.
Thank you. For me, I would kill to do Creighton Duke takes a group of trained military guys into the woods of Camp Crystal Lake and they hunt Jason Predator style.
I was about to say that's awesome as Predator.
Hell yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that to me, like, because here's the thing, like, I'm so tired. Like, you know, there's all this talk about if they can get the lawsuit settled, which they're never going to settle, by the way, guys. Sorry.
Oh, we
If
had
they
that
can get
question.
if they can get the lawsuit settled, you know, what would a Friday the 13th movie be? People are like, I think it should be in the snow. Who gives a shit? it like, I'm like, I think it should be in a rainforest. Oh, whatever. How about this, guys? How about make something that we haven't seen 47 times now, and which is why Jason Goes to Hell is what it is.
I love that.
Like,
by the way.
I love that franchise, and you know, Part 6 is absolutely my favorite of the movies. I really do love that film. I think Tommy McLaughlin did an incredible job in that movie.
Yep.
Here's the thing. Part 7 is good, and the makeup is incredible.
Right.
But okay, guys, it's Jason versus Carrie.
Right.
They were so out of ideas at that point. They're like, we'll put a psychic in the woods. Okay.
We reviewed that. Yeah.
And then they go into Part 8, and Part 8 is, on the face of it, the baddest dude in the world in the baddest city in the world. Awesome. Great premise.
You hear that, Nico?
That's not the movie. The movie is Jason takes a boat ride.
Thank you. Someone else said it. Thank you.
He's on a boat for more than
Nico is
2/3
shook.
of the movie. Then he arrives in Canada. He's not even in New York. He's in Times Square for a couple seconds. And again, I wanted that movie. Like, guys, I don't know if you remember the teaser for Jason Takes Manhattan. Holy shit, the teaser was incredible. They played Frank Sinatra's My Way as they're closing in on Jason from behind, and you could see New York, the skyline, and you know, ahead of him. And when he turned around, I'm telling you, I'm in the movie theater. I'm in, I think I was in college at the time, and I'm screaming at the screen. And I'm like, fuck yeah. They didn't give us that movie. They didn't give us that movie.
Right.
And so when we get to Part 9, I was so desperate to go, like, guys, can we make a movie that, like, all the people who had grown up with the Friday the 13th franchise were now, look, and I was young. When the first Friday came out, I'm 12 years old, 11. I'm 11 years old, okay? We're all in our 20s now. Can we actually have a movie that, like, as adults, we're psyched to go see? And for me, if I got to watch a bunch of dumb campers get slaughtered, what's the point? What's the point?
Right.
I'd rather go watch the other movies, which are fucking great. Like, I don't need another one of those after Part 4. Part 4 is fucking brilliant.
Right.
Who needs another dumb campers in the woods movie? Give me something cool. And so for me, Jason Goes to Hell was a chance to fix the mythology, which was so fucked up in these movies.
Yes.
And then to bring it into an adult universe. And so for me, look, Creighton Duke, I think Creighton Duke and Tommy Jarvis joining forces to kill Jason, that movie to me is fucking badass.
Oh, that sounds awesome to me, man.
I'm on board.
I'm on board
That's
with that
the movie I would make.
100%. Love Creighton Duke. Hey, man, I just want to say you hit the nail on the head about Jason Takes Manhattan. Now, I just needed to point that out to you. Okay.
By the way, look, here's the thing. And listen, I am not here, and this is really the truth of it. Other than the remake and Freddy versus Jason, I am really not a hater on any of these movies. I love these movies. And I've watched Jason Takes Manhattan like 12 times.
Right.
So I dig those flicks. I dig those flicks. Okay. I know it's terrible. Here's the thing. I was the right age when those movies came out. I love those films, but at some point you do have to look at it logically and go, wow, really?
Right.
I mean, guys, come on. I mean, I know it's everybody's favorite bit, but when he punches the kid's head off, when he punches Jaleesa's head off, come on, guys. Come on. Come on now. Come on. Like physics exists in the universe, even in Friday 13th movies, physics has to make some sense. And by the way, just so that you guys understand, look, with Jason Goes to Hell in particular, my biggest problem with the Friday franchise, and by the way, it kind of lines up to some degree with Sean's, okay, is that between part 1 and part 2, it's a couple weeks, guys. A couple weeks pass between those two movies, right?
Right.
Okay. How did Jason go from being a hydrocephalic-headed teenager who's been drowned for 30 years into a 6-foot monster who has somehow figured out how to drive, gotten a full suit of clothes, used the yellow pages at the time because he found where Alice lives,
Evolution,
snuck
baby.
into her house with Mom's head, hid the head, hid himself, waited for her to show up, killed her, then dragged her body and Mom's head both back to Crystal Lake to put in his shrine. That's just from the first to the second movie, guys.
Right.
So logic-wise, I'm just sitting there going, wait a second. We're not all this stupid, are we?
Right.
Like, this is insulting. So it was why, and look, don't even get me started on, Roy in part 5, and it's just like on and on and on. And then he becomes, then he becomes zombie Jason. And here's what I love. I love that everybody's okay with zombie Jason. Well, he's zombie Jason now. Okay, that's new mythology. Whatevs. When we got to part 9, my response to it was, and you can even see it in the opening scene of the movie. This guy's killed over 130 people in a 1-mile radius. 130 people.
Right.
Guys, that's not a local law enforcement issue anymore. That's a feds issue. That's the most prolific serial killer in the history of the country. The feds get in on that. So that's why they do the sting at the top of the movie, why the feds come. When it came to Jason's being Jason, I was like, all right, if his mom is so crazy to have her son back, if everything is motivated by her love for her son, wouldn't she look to any route to get him back? And thereby, wouldn't she look for things like the dark arts and use the Necronomicon and bring her son back? And suddenly you've got, I know it's not a specific Deadite, but you'd have some version of something tinged by the darkness. And for me, I'm sorry, Jason as Hell's assassin is way cooler than the drowned kid from the 50s with the hydrocephalic head who murders teenagers.
Right.
Sorry, it's cooler. I want to watch a movie about Hell's assassin. So that's what Jason Goes to Hell was sort of predicated on.
Awesome.
Oh, so
Right.
what I
Hey,
got
yeah, go ahead,
for you-
Drew.
So what I got for you is like, you're greatly involved with your fans on your on Facebook in a group which Brian is a part of, and called Jason Goes to Hell, the Final Fan Group. Can you talk a little bit about what made you decide to want to embrace and interact with the fans so much of this movie the way you do?
Sure. Here's the thing. I have always, since the first movie came out, I have always been that way with my fans. And I got to tell you, I've been sucker punched many times. Like I've had people who, like I'm at a convention and they want to take me to drinks and we sit down to have a drink and the person launches into how much they fucking hate me and hate my movie.
Wow.
And I got to tell you, I've had my best friend is a guy named John Esposito who, he wrote Stephen King's Graveyard Shift. He produced and was one of the co-writers on From Dusk Till Dawn. John's won the Writers Guild Award 2 years in a row for The Walking Dead. He's a fucking badass writer. He's amazing. John was sitting at me one of these events where this guy pulled this shit with me, and John jumped up from his seat to punch this guy out, like literally just take him out. And I pulled him back, and I'm like, John, stop. Here's the thing. The people who hate Jason Goes to Hell tend to hate that there's not enough hockey mask in the movie. Because when I take them down the line on the movie, when I just kind of break down the movie for them, I go, okay, great. I go, so tell me the stuff that you liked or didn't like. So did you think it was really gory? Oh, yeah. Yeah. So the kills were good.
Great effect.
Awesome. Some of the best kills in the franchise. Okay, cool. And they invariably go, the girl split up the middle in the tent. I'm like, yep, all good. Did you like the characters in the movie? Yeah, no, they were good. They were fun. The acting was good. Yeah, it was good. Did it look good? Was it shot well? Yeah, no, it looks great. How about the music? Oh, well, it's Harry Manfredini. Music kicks ass. I literally go down the line on everything in the movie, and then I go, and there's Jason body hopping. Fucking hate it, man. Fucking hate it. Why is that in the movie? I go, okay, so you have a problem that what if each person who got infected by Jason wore a hockey mask? Well, I mean, that wouldn't suck as bad. I'm like, got it. So this is about not enough hockey mask. There are 6 movies that come before my movie, 3 movies after my movie, full of hockey mask. You have 9 movies about a hockey mask, and you can enjoy them forever. But if you look at Jason Goes to Hell again and just look at it as, here is a little bit of explanation for the audience saying, hey, we gave Jason more of a reason for being. Everybody ends up calming down, and I will actually get a lot of people to kind of change their opinion on it. And my favorite thing is when somebody who hated the movie says, you know what? It's actually kind of a kick-ass horror movie. I just don't like it as part of the Friday franchise. I go, that's cool. Fair. And again, everybody is entitled to their opinions. I've never told anybody they're not. That's totally, if you hate my movie, cool. Here's the thing. I don't understand filmmakers that don't respect their fans. I don't get it. I've never gotten it. When I was a kid, Dick Smith was so kind to me, was so good to me when I was 12, and I met him for the first time to get his autograph. And I was at a Fangoria convention back when nobody went to cons. There were 300 people at this whole thing all weekend. And I'm telling you, the people who were wonderful, I remember those people to this day, and a lot of them I've become friends with in the industry. The people who were dicks, who were there for the money and nothing else, fuck those guys. The horror community is the best fucking community of filmgoers. They just are. They're hardcore. And they care about these movies. These movies are in some way like religion for them. And when I look at that and I say, okay, so my responsibility to those people is, as long as you're cool with me, I'm going to be super fucking cool with you. I am a fan, so I know what it feels like to get treated not well by somebody. So I would never put that on to one of my fans. That being said, look, when it came down to the Final Friday group, TJ Bowser and Corey Kaufman are the 2 guys who created that group. And they created it on my birthday this year as a present. It was really sweet. And I barely knew these guys. TJ had interviewed me once, and he's this totally sweet guy. And I thought, okay, cool. They'll make a little Friday group. That's sweet. But guys, it grew so fast. It was so many people so quickly. I was like, what the fuck is going on? And suddenly there's, 150 posts a day on the thing. And I'm like, okay, well, you know what? If people are going to take time out of their day to write something nice or to put up a picture or a drawing they've done or some cool shit, I'm absolutely going to say something nice about it. I'm going to interact with everybody who's on this thing. And I got to tell you guys, before the fan page, I was going to do the documentary of the film, the Hearts of Darkness, the making of Final Friday. I was going for private financing on that movie. When that fan page blew up, I was like, oh, fuck no, we're crowdfunding this sucker. I'm putting this out to the group. And guys, we're overfunded. We have more money than we asked for. So there's this kind of wonderful surge of fandom happening around the film. I think a lot more people have discovered it and found out this movie is kind of cool and has some badass stuff in it. And if people are enjoying it and finding a pathway to it, I am not going to be the dick who has a chip on my shoulder because there's some people who didn't like my movie. Oh, get over yourself. So that's why I am all about the people who love these movies, because I don't even think of them as fans. They're sort of brothers and sisters in arms.
That's awesome.
Love it, man.
Hey, Adam.
Yeah,
I have one more script question, but I actually just came up with one
Sure.
just for my own personal sake. If you want to answer it, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine. Okay.
Go for it, dude.
My only question
Let's have fun. Let's do it.
You brought up Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah.
If you had the opportunity, because I have problems with what Ronnie Yu did to the Jason character, making him scared of water. I hate that with all my heart.
Too.
If you had the opportunity to direct and write that, what would you do in that film? I'm just curious. This is just me asking as a fan.
No. So that you guys know, I was actually asked to come in and pitch on the movie.
Wow.
Here's the thing. When Jason Goes to Hell came out, it made a shit ton of money for New Line, and in fact, it ended up becoming we came in number 2 at the box office on the weekend we opened, because The Fugitive had been opened, which was awesome, because the front cover of Variety said number 1 goes to Fugitive, rest of box office goes to hell. And I still have that. I have that front page on my wall in my office.
Nice.
Here's the thing. Jason Goes to Hell was the biggest home video New Line had ever put out. Made more money because they put it out in a director's cut and in the theatrical cut. It's the first video ever to be put out in 2 cuts when it first came out. So New Line ended up literally making double the money they'd made on anything else they'd ever put out. So it was a huge hit for them. So I had a 3-picture deal at New Line. One of the movies they had me come in on was Freddy versus Jason. They wanted to know what my take was. My take on Freddy versus Jason was, I wanted to do a movie where Jason's in hell at the top of the film, okay? And the way you play that out is that the opening of the movie is a boiler room sequence. You play a Freddy boiler room. Freddy is chasing some teenager in a boiler room, blah, blah, blah. It's the thing you've seen a million times. He's just about to slice open this teenager when suddenly he gets punched right in the face. Goes flying back, standing there is Jason. Teenager runs away, right? I think you guys lost somebody, by the way.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, good. Okay. All right. So gets punched right in the face, right? And the two of them start brawling, right? You get this like total brawl between these two maniacs. And excuse me. And so suddenly the floor starts to shake. It breaks open between the two of them, pulls them both to far sides of an abyss. And we suddenly realize we're in hell. And it's Freddy and Jason stuck in hell. And their hell is constantly stopping each other from getting their victims.
Oh, wow.
Here's the thing. Hell is too small for these two dudes. Okay? So the darkness comes up with the plan to send both of them back to Earth. Only one of them can stay. And the idea is who ends up murdering the most teenagers. The prize at the end of the route is Nancy, Tommy. Whoever can get Nancy and Tommy will rule over hell. Will rule over Earth. Will be Hell's assassin on Earth. The other one gets sent back to hell. What I then threw in was I threw Creighton Duke in there to protect Nancy and Tommy. And basically it's a road movie of Nancy, Tommy, and Creighton Duke against Freddy and Jason coming after him. And that's the whole film. It's just simple chase movie. He's got to kill them, and they're killing people all along the route as they're going. So it was just a fucking bloodbath. I was like, don't overthink it. Make it a fucking bloodbath.
Right.
Don't have a shit ton of rules. Just kill motherfuckers and bring back Nancy and Tommy. That's what the fans want. They want Nancy and Tommy. Bring them back.
That's awesome.
So that was the movie. So yes, I did come in on that one. Here's the thing. Look, that movie just took too fucking long to get made. That's the problem with that movie. Right. Ronnie Yu has been very open in saying he had never seen a Friday the 13th movie. He had no interest in seeing a Friday the 13th movie.
Wow.
He fucked over Kane Hodder so bad.
Yes, he
like,
did.
so bad. And I get what Ronnie was trying to do as far as the visuals of it. He wanted a bigger, monstrous Jason to go up against Freddy. I get it. I sit there going, Kane Hodder takes that role as seriously as Anthony Hopkins takes playing Hannibal Lecter.
Right.
You have to have respect for the actor. You have to have respect. I mean, look, when it came to Jason Goes to Hell, we didn't talk about different Jasons. I just went, well, we're getting Kane, right? And they're like, yeah, Kane wants to do it. I'm like, yeah, done. Not only did we hire Kane, I hired Kane as the stunt coordinator for the whole film. So I'm like, no, there is no Friday 13th without Kane Hodder. What are we talking about?
He also has an unmasked kill in that movie.
He sure does.
Yeah, love that.
He's also the hand of Freddy.
Ah, wow, that's cool as shit.
He pulls his own mask down. Yeah. So no, look, I think you guys remember that great scene where Jason is taking a nap and all the kids are around the table, their little pot table, and they're talking about how they're, how are we going to stop Freddy? How are we going to use Jason to stop Freddy? Remember that scene? Get into the movie? Yeah.
Right.
I literally, as the scene was happening in the movie, I'm sitting in the theater. I turned to my wife, who's my writing partner. I turned to her and I say, Deb, that sounds like an executive meeting.
Right.
That sounds like they just recorded what all the executives in the room were telling the writers on what should we do to get rid of Freddy. And then they just wrote it down as a scene. Guys, that movie, I am so baffled by Freddy versus Jason. I go like, and again, it made $100 million, guys. So the audience responded. They wanted to see it. I just think what a shame that we couldn't have gotten the movie that the fans really deserved, because they didn't get the movie they deserved.
Right.
I
agree.
100%. Agreed.
All right, Adam, the last question that we have for you, well, besides Drew's bonus question, you most recently finished Secret Santa. Could you talk to us a little bit about that and any other projects that you're working on or would like to plug?
Absolutely. Well, what happened was when Texas Chainsaw came out, and Deborah and I were asked to come to a screening of the movie, and they had changed so much of what we had created for the worse. For example, guys, in our version of that movie, there was no cell phone. Okay. Because the movie takes place in 1993, so there are no smartphones in 1993.
Right.
The movie, Alexandra Daddario, given the timeline they had created, Alexandra Daddario would have to be in her mid-40s. Alexandra Daddario is in her early 20s in that movie. So that's fucking stupid. Second, they weakened almost all of our kills, and they added the line, do your thing, cuz, which truly is the soundtrack of my nightmares. So here's the thing, it's awesome when you write a movie for studios because you get paid a lot of money. And I've spent most of my career doing just that, writing movies for studios.
Right.
And it's been awesome. And I am very, very grateful to have had that opportunity. The problem is that you don't make that much. You make a lot of money, but you don't make the kind of money that's going to you're going to go sail off, sail the ocean the rest of your life.
Right.
You still have to work. You still have to have a job. And here's the thing. I didn't get into movies to just have a job. I got into the film industry because I love making movies and telling stories. I love the craft of what I do. And when you work for the studios, you have no say-so. Yeah. So whatever they want to change, they're going to change. And by the way, they have every right to do so. It's their money. I get it.
Right.
So Deborah and I had really had it. We were just so fucking tired of people changing shit. And I turned to one of my closest friends, a guy named Brian Sexton, who was a producer for me on my Val Kilmer movie, Conspiracy.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys had,
Yes.
Well, that was another nightmare because Val was drunk and or stoned every single day of the movie.
I can believe it. I can believe it.
Between 3 to 6 hours late every single day of production. And on day 6 of the movie, he kicked me in the nuts and laid me out in the middle of my set for no reason.
Oh my
God. For literally no reason. He was just so fucking high. So anyway, I had really had it with studio filmmaking. I was like, this is how studios make fucking movies now? What is this?
Right.
So Brian was tired of making movies this way. Deb was. And so we created something called Skeleton Crew. And Skeleton Crew is our production company, where the idea being that it puts the storytelling back in filmmakers' hands. So almost in a full circle idea, I'm kind of building what Roger Corman used to do, which is we make movies for a lower budget, but the filmmaker gets the money and then go make your movie. Just make your movie.
Right.
And it's more about writing than it is about how much money can we pour on special effects. So Secret Santa was the first film out of this company. I wrote and directed it. It was written in 20 days. We shot the movie in 11 nights, one day. And it is absolutely hands down the movie I'm the most proud of. It's been in 22 festivals around the world. The movie is now, we sold it to Australia, Germany, the UK. We've done our own distribution in North America. The movie is like dirty and lean and funny and fucking badass gory. Bob Kurtzman came in, did the whole movie side by side with me. He even shot second camera on the film.
That's awesome.
And he did all the effects in the movie. I even recycled a couple of effects from Jason Goes to Hell that I've kept in my garage all these years and brought them out to set and redressed them, and they were used again.
Nice.
And not only that, but the performers in the film are all people. I teach acting to this day in LA. I've been teaching here since I first moved out here. And I've got a studio that I run right next to Sony Studios in Culver City. And so I've got 60 actors that I work with every week. And these are people, like most of them, you would know their faces because they work all the time in TVs and movies.
Right.
But they're people that you wouldn't know their names. There's a couple you would know their names, but most of them you wouldn't know their names. And so I'm like, why is it that every movie is star fucking? Like every role, like everything feels like The Love Boat now. Like you got 9 people in the movie.
Right.
Instead of a movie star and then a lot of really good actors.
Right.
And so this gave my actors a platform to suddenly be able to do the kind of work they've been working on their whole lives. But they usually only get 5 lines on a CSI spinoff. So it became this kind of collective. And when the name Skeleton Crew refers to the fact that, beyond the fact that we're doing genre material, a lot of that, we are also all about everybody is hands on deck. So the way I used to run my theater company is now the way I run my film company, where, if there's a sandbag, grab it. Let's move it.
Right.
So there's no egos. There's no bullshit. It's just, let's all get the story told. And I got to tell you, man, like I have more fun on my sets now than I've ever had. There's never a fight. There's never conflict because everybody is like psyched and it's their movie. They get to feel like it's theirs too.
Right.
Right.
So Secret Santa was the first one out of the gate. We've got a huge movie that we're doing this year with Lionsgate with Skeleton Crew. I can't tell you there's a movie star in this movie who at one time was the biggest box office star on planet Earth. I'm not kidding.
Wow.
We're so excited about this movie, guys. It's crazy. It's called Velocity. It's an action movie. It's a action thriller. We've got that one coming. We've got a great movie called Fat Camp Massacre that we're doing this year, which is kind of a Friday 13th meets Get Out kind of movie. So it's sort of what Get Out was. What Get Out was for people of color, this movie is for people of size.
Okay.
So it's a big fuck you to sizeism. So we're doing that one. We have another huge horror thing coming. I can't say the title yet because it's going to be announced in the next few days. But we have another big kind of Blumhousey kind of movie.
Okay.
Very much like The Ring, like the original The Ring. or It Follows in that area. So we've got that coming. And I've got a film that I'm directing in April called This Perfect Day, which is sort of like a wedding movie meets Jacob's Ladder.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I like the title.
Okay.
I like
Awesome.
the title.
Thanks, man. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. So that's the stuff we're working on right now. And yeah, man, Skeleton Crew it's been for me kind of a rebirth in my career where I feel like I'm making stuff that like everything I make, you know, when we would get a bad review for, let's say, Texas Chainsaw, we'd get a bad review and they would talk about the shit that we didn't do.
Right.
And I'd be like, well, I didn't earn this bad review. Damn it.
Right.
Here's the thing. If I'm going to get a bad review, I want it to be for something I actually did.
Right.
That's what Skeleton Crew does, is it's putting the art back in the artist's hands. And that's just the coolest thing in the world. I got to tell you that, like, I think there's a nice big groundswell of independent cinema that's happening right now. That's really exciting. My wife, Deborah, who my writing partner, who's also one of the leads of Secret Santa. She's fucking incredible, guys. Deborah right now is on Deborah Voorhees' set for 13 Fanboy right now in New Mexico. She and two of my actors just drove out there to be in Deborah's new
That's
film.
Awesome.
So there's like this really cool groundswell of independent film that's happening that, you know, I think independent voices are going to matter more, especially for the horror community, than anything the studios are making. Because, guys, I mean, I don't know if you've been suffering through the stuff that the studios have been putting out, but wow.
Yes.
I mean, wow. It's rough out there.
Yes, it is.
You know, there are a few exceptions without doubt,
Right.
but I mean, it's hard. It's hard. And so for me, I want to see horror kind of go back into being a brave new world. So that's what I hope Skeleton Crew and Secret Santa contribute to.
Hey, Adam, before Drew asks his final funny question, I just wanted to
Sure.
comment on Texas Chainsaw 3D.
Yeah, please touch on that.
I actually all I wanted to say was whenever the girl I was dating, when that movie came out, we went and saw it, and we both liked it. And after that, I went home, and we made Sweet Passionate Love, so I appreciate that.
Dude, however I can be of service.
Hey, and real quick, to touch on 3D.
I appreciate that.
And by the way, I know we're not talking about that movie here, but I actually thought it was kind of like Jason Goes to Hell. At least it was different.
Absolutely.
I enjoyed that film. I really did.
Here's the thing that's kind of heartbreaking for me about it is that, and by the way, I don't think it's a bad movie. I just don't think it's the movie it should have been.
Right.
Toby Hooper read that script before he passed away when we first delivered the script.
Wow.
Toby called me at home and said to me, Adam, this is the only true sequel to my original film.
Wow. That's
I was
big.
like,
Big.
what? I'm like, I was like, I can go lay down in a box now. I'm done.
Right.
I've life goals, you know? So look, guys, I mean, I'll give you one example. Before the third act of that movie originally, the place where everything was going to go bad was a slaughterhouse. Okay. And slaughterhouses in Texas are many times right next to the farm where the cows have been raised, where the cattle has actually been raised. So we had a stampede of 1,000 head of cattle in 3D with Leatherface walking through the cattle with the chainsaw. Okay. That to me was like the poster image. Like, I want to see that on a poster.
No kidding.
Okay?
Right. That's a badass scene, by the way. Like,
thank you. They gutted the budget so dramatically that you're never going to see that scene.
Right.
And that, guys, I'm telling you, that's the tip of the iceberg. We had dozens when when the van flips over and Alexandra Daddario and her boyfriend are in the van, Trey Songz, who played in the movie.
Right.
In the way that it got shot, you know, Trey Songz dies from like some glass, cuts his throat. I was like, okay, that's just fucking lame.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
In our original script for the movie, the van flips over and it lands on its side. So Trey Songz is against what is basically the roof of the van, but which has now become the side of the van.
Right.
And they hear the chainsaw outside just revving, right? And they're like, don't move, don't say anything, Josh. And there's a silence except for the chainsaw. And then suddenly the chainsaw goes out. And then you hear it rev back up again, and it comes right through Trey Songz' chest.
Wow.
And Alexander Daddario goes to like lunge for him to like help him. And he grabs the moving chainsaw with his hands.
Oh, wow.
And his fingers go flying off into her face.
Oh,
Yes.
so much better. So
in
much better.
3D.
So much better.
This is the stuff that just got fucking cut from the movie where I go like, okay, why did we even come up with all these gags? Like these were great.
Right.
I mean, I can use them again in another movie, I guess, but fuck. So, yeah.
So, Adam, this is the question that I ask anybody and everybody that comes on our show. Cool. And since, you're here, we got to ask it too.
Oh, man.
Scream.
Oh.
Movie Scream. Do you consider it a horror movie?
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, Adam.
No, wait. You're goading him now. You're like you're trying to prod him into it. I'm like guys, think about it.
Guys,
like,
just
you consider it a horror movie.
I do, and I'll tell you why I consider it a horror movie.
Thank you. By the way,
I got offered that movie.
No way.
What?
I did right after Jason Goes to Hell.
You would have done it better.
Wow.
I got offered that movie. It was called Scary Movie before they came up with the title Scream. Scary Movie. And I read it and I was like, this is going to be fucking great. And they gave it to me because Jason Goes to Hell is so self-referential and has so much comedy in it.
Right.
So they had me take a look at the script. I loved it. My agent was in talks with them, and that's when Wes came in and said he loved it and wanted to do it. And I was well, I guess I'm not going to make that one. But yeah.
So after seeing it, like, would you have done like any difference to it, or like would the story have stayed the same kind of way?
No. And in fact, I know that they made a lot of changes from the first draft that I read. The script that I read was definitely different. Here's my problem with Scream. I do have one big problem with Scream. The movie never recovers from the first 8 minutes.
That's a good point.
The first 8 minutes is the best scene in that film. In fact, it's one of the best scenes ever shot.
Yes, it is.
It's incredible.
Fantastic. Yep.
The problem is, no matter what twist you put on that movie, it's never going to be as good as that first 8 minutes.
Right.
So that is the one thing I've always had a problem with Scream. I'm like, you killed the biggest movie star in the movie in the first 8 minutes, and it's an incredible. I mean, you're scared. 35 seconds of that movie, you're like, oh my God, this poor bitch is going to die. She's going to get killed. Oh my God. And then the movie tries to be as scary throughout, and it never gets to that same place.
Right.
But I still think it's a great movie. Look, I'm a huge Wes fan. I love Wes.
Right.
Me too. I actually rated the movie a 9.5. I just don't. For me, it's not a horror movie to me.
This guy.
I have a weird standard.
Get out of here.
Do you think it's a comedy? Do you think of it as a comedy?
No, I don't think it's a comedy. I just think it's a great movie. I just don't think it's a horror movie.
I mean, you got to put it somewhere, man.
Well,
you don't have to put it anywhere. I mean, I got my own rankings.
It's interesting. Why do you not consider it a horror movie?
It is a horror movie.
I don't know. I think it's because they so much on the parody part of it. So it kind of gets me off to the side. That's it.
Got it.
That's it. Like, I love the movie. I absolutely love the movie.
Right.
It's just like not a horror for me. Just like Mike and Brian and Nico, they all love slasher movies, where slashers are kind of like, halfway for me. Like, I love some slashers, but not all of them. They love all slashers.
Right. And real quick, I think I said this in our Scream episode, and since we have you, I think Scream suffers from scary movies like the Scary Movie series as being a complete parody. People almost confuse the two sometimes. I really do think that. So
well, and again, when we all saw the movie, look, I saw the movie in the theater when it opened, and I was like, this is fucking great.
Right.
If you see it after you've seen the Scary Movies, it's like, well, no, then you fuck that whole thing up.
Exactly.
Look, the one thing about the Scream movies that is a little bit of a pain in the ass for filmmakers, for guys like me, because it exposed the rules of the genre so specifically, it made our jobs 10 times harder.
Right.
Like suddenly we couldn't use
Right.
any of those tropes anymore. Like you're
Right.
not allowed to, you know. But guys, when I was doing Jason Goes to Hell, the first thing I was told day one was every 7 minutes a fresh kill, every 7 minutes a fresh pair of breasts in 3.5 minute increments.
Let's go.
I was like, wow. All right.
I was saying, I was like 20. What is it? 21 or 22 kills in the movie?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
I
Yeah.
think it's like 22.
Jason Goes to Hell, I think, has the second biggest body count. I think there's one other. It might be Jason X, might have one more kill than us, only because all those guys at the top of the movie get killed. And, when he,
Right.
Yeah. But,
Right.
no, we have the most kills. We have the
Yeah,
most kills.
23. I looked it up on
23
there. It's
kills.
23.
Great body
It's
count,
an
by the way.
insane amount.
Yeah.
Great body count.
Yep. Yeah. Guys, I am still to this day very proud of that movie. I'm not saying it's not over the top. I'm not saying there's not some ridiculousness to it. There sure is. But it's a movie that, look, this is always the litmus test I use. On the night that the movie came out, it was playing at a multiplex in LA. It was playing at 30 multiplexes in LA, but the one that I went to in Westwood had it was 2 theaters, and right next door was a movie called Searching for Bobby Fischer.
Right.
Was also going out, right?
Yep.
And so I paid for a ticket for Jason Goes to Hell, but I was like, I do not need to see this fucking movie again. And I walked into Searching for Bobby Fischer. I was like, I want to go watch another movie. So I sit there in a very, like almost nobody was in the theater. And here's the thing. That movie is beautifully made. It's Steve Zalian, who wrote Schindler's List, who won the Academy Award for Schindler's List. It's got, Sir Ben Kingsley and Joan Allen and Joe Mantegna. It's an incredible film. When was the last time anybody brought up Searching for fucking Bobby Fischer?
That's a good
Anybody?
point.
Nobody.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
Nobody.
And Jason Goes to Hell, a day doesn't go by when I'm not reading something about this fucking movie. And I just go, I'm so blessed to be part of something. Look, honestly, I think the reason it gets more talk than 7, than 5, than 3 is because the fans are divided, because there's this war over it.
Right.
Okay, cool. I'll
Right.
take it.
You're still
I'll take the
talking about it.
controversy. Why not?
Right.
Let people keep talking about it,
Right.
And again, I'm grateful to that, but I'm most especially grateful to the fans that keep the movie alive and keep it relevant, and something that, guys, it's 26 years since that movie came out and we're still talking about it.
Exactly.
And I want to say, a lot of times when I watch this movie, it's in a marathon with the Friday franchise. And I'm just going to tell you off the top, I've always enjoyed the film because when you're watching all these movies back to back to back to back, they all start to feel like the same movie. And bam, here comes Goes to Hell. And that is why I've always enjoyed it, because it is like, wow, this is something different than the last 8 movies that I just had to watch.
Thank
and
you,
sit
brother.
through.
Thank
So
you.
I've always
Thank
felt it
you.
was, it may not be the perfect film or anything, but it is a breath of fresh air. And I enjoy it because of that.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I really do. And it's why we made it the way we made it. So.
Well, Adam, this is Brian. I just wanted to say, I just wanted to tell you, since I have you on here, it was, Jason Goes to Hell is actually the movie that got me into horror in the first place. And I was in 5th grade and had a kid tell me about the end scene, on a bus, and I remember it distinctly, and that's what it made me want to go watch it. So I want to say thank you. It's surreal to be able to say that I'm talking to the director of the movie that got me into horror all these years later. So thank you again for being on tonight.
That's beautiful, man. Thank you so much. I can't begin to tell you how much that means to me. Seriously, that's
cool
freaking
for all
awesome.
of us, man. It's really awesome for all of us to have you on, man.
Yes, thank you so much.
It is awesome to be here, guys. It really is. By the way, the documentary is going to be fucking incredible.
Oh,
incredible.
yeah.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's badass. We just finished scheduling. I was just talking to Kane a couple days ago, and it's amazing how many people are coming back for this thing. We've got 33 interviews from the original film.
Oh,
It's
that's
crazy.
awesome.
That's awesome.
So should be pretty epic.
Well, thank you very much, Adam, for joining us, man. We
Absolutely.
appreciate it more than anything. So, and I'll touch base, and if you're okay with it, I'm gonna send you a shirt if that's okay.
I'd love it. Oh, that'd be fantastic. I love
Oh,
it,
dude,
guys.
that'd be great, man.
Excellent.
Hey, and real quick, I know at some point we're going to review Texas Chainsaw 3D. So if you ever want to hop back on with us,
Please, no problem.
let's do it, man.
Happy to.
Let's
Happy to.
that'd be great. Let's
You
do it
guys are
again.
badass.
Thank you very
All right,
much,
we
man.
appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it, brother.
All right, guys. Awesome.
All right, all
Talk
right.
soon.
Have a good night, my man.
See you, Sean.
Bye-bye. You too.
Incredible.
Awesome.
Thank you, Adam, for coming on. So now I guess we're going to jump into the review just real fast. No, we're not going to go scene by scene or anything. We're just going to all kind of give our own little summary thoughts on the film. Which kind of after that interview, man, it kind of seems feels like it doesn't even mean as much now compared to what we just listened to. I feel like we just listened to Wes Craven talk almost.
Right.
All right. So the summary goes. For Jason Goes to Hell is after being blown away by a team of FBI agents, Jason Voorhees, Kane Hodder, needs to find a way to overcome certain death. When his bloodied remains are sent to the morgue, his heart, still intact, is able to hypnotize a coroner and take over his body. After brutally dispatching a couple of FBI agents, which one of them was Kane Hodder, by the way, he heads back to his favorite stomping grounds, Crystal Lake. Jason commences another teen massacre while a bounty hunter, Stephen Williams, discovers the only way to kill him. So that's the kind of the plot thing. I can go first on the on my best and worst kill on the movie. My best kill obviously is the tent scene where the camper gets torn in half. I think honestly the Dark Hearts of Voorhees documentary that he was talking about a minute ago, I think both of those actresses are going to be on there. I believe almost everybody is going to probably be on there. So
Should be great.
I can't wait for that. Yeah, absolutely. My worst kill is there's a scene where Steven's walking through or he's in the police station, and the guy that's possessed, I can't even think of his name right now, slams the two security guards' heads together. Well,
Right.
Before they even hit together, you can see the blood part of it. Like, the after effects is already on there. So I think that might have been a little mistake or whatever. So that was that always stands out to me and kind of takes me out of it a little bit. So that's my worst kill. I'll say. Also, there's a really funny kill. I laugh every time when they're going through the diner. And that one dude's got that one chick's got a shotgun and blows away.
Right.
You can see the person in the background gets hit by the bullets, I guess, and dies. So I don't know. It's collateral damage there with that. I thought it's funny. I'm gonna give the movie a ranking of 7.5, somewhere around there. And like I said, it's like I told him, man, it got me into horror. So a lot of it's really not go into watching this movie after watching all the Friday the 13th. It was my very first one, my first introduction. So I didn't have all of that to go back on. I wasn't pissed off that it wasn't Jason the whole time because I hadn't seen anything differently, honestly. So,
right.
So that's where I was at with that. Mike, do you want to go next?
Actually, there's a reason people think that me and you were in cahoots on this show, because we literally have the same mind. Here we go. My favorite kill is the tent scene.
Maybe you should go next.
My favorite scene is the tent kill, with a girl split in half. And by the way, it's kind of weird to see people almost replicate that kill in a way, because in the movie The Terrifier with Art the Clown, they do it's much more gruesome and bloody. But to spoil The Terrifier for you guys, they kind of reinvent that scene in a way. It's kind of cool. Anyway, so that's my favorite kill. My least favorite kill is actually the reflected gunshot kill where the bullets kind of, like you spoke about, that's my least favorite kill. I'm also not a huge fan of the way Creighton Duke dies, but that's neither here nor there. I give this movie this is weird. Just to be different, I'm going to go ahead and give it the old 7.75 so we don't have the same rating. I enjoyed this film. I think, and I understand why someone might not enjoy this film, especially if they're a Friday purist, a traditionalist, a very Jason heavy fan. And by the way, I like Jason. I'm not here to shit on Jason, even though people on this show think I do. It's not true. I like Jason. I love the character of Jason Voorhees. However, this movie is so different, and I'm glad I got to tell Adam this, because I watched this movie 9 times out of 10, except for this week. I normally watch it in succession with all the other movies, and it is such a big punch, something different, something very, very off the wall. So again, enjoy the film. 7.75 is my rating. I understand why it has its haters, but I'm not one of them.
All right, I'll go next. Favorite kill, I'm agreeing with y'all. I really like the girl who gets killed in the tent. Awesome. My least favorite kill, I'm going to go with the guy in the tent because you don't even see it. So I'm just going to assume it's an off-screen kill. You're my least favorite kill. Rating of this movie, if you guys listen to our Friday the 13th Rankings podcast, I ranked this movie dead last, but I'm gonna revise that list now because when I first watched that movie, heck, I don't even remember where the first and only time when I watched it. I was a young kid. I was more of a Jason purist, like Michael said. I'd seen, the Jason Part 6, the Part 4, the Part 8. I saw all of those before Jason Goes to Hell, and I didn't know all of the stuff that Adam Marcus dealt with making this movie. I wasn't educated on all that. After talking to Brian Moore the past few months, after getting to know him better, learning more about this movie, a fresh rewatch this past week, I actually don't hate this movie anymore. I really, like Mike and Brian both said in our review, it is a breath of fresh air. It is different in a good way now, because when I reviewed it or when I ranked it, I said it was different in a bad way. I take that statement back. I'm going to give this movie a 6.5. I enjoy the movie. It's very different, but it's definitely worth a watch now. I don't hate it no more.
Right.
And thank you, Adam, for being on our show. Very much appreciated.
Yes.
Go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, so obviously we all got the same favorite kill, but that favorite kill has a name, boys. Her name is Deborah.
Sorry.
That was definitely, and I think my least favorite kill is probably like the one where like they break the wrist and then it like throws them into the door. That was probably my least favorite. It was still a good kill, but it was my least favorite of those 23 kills that were throughout the movie. And my rankings, everybody gives me a little shit about my rankings, but I'm actually gonna rank this movie a 7.0, a good ranking.
Nice.
A good ranking. It's another one of the movies where you see it once when you're in a different age, I guess, and you don't really take it and appreciate it for what it was.
Right.
And then when I watched it I watched it 4 times this week. 4 times.
Wow.
I kept watching it because I wanted to nitpick a little bit, and then I kept watching it and I liked it more and more each time I watched it.
Right. Oh, your opinion definitely changed over the week, because when we're texting early on in the week, you're kind of like, I don't know. But towards the end of the week, I could kind of see you coming around a little bit. You're like, not so bad. It might be better than you think. So, yeah.
Well, that's the biggest thing, like with me and y'all, like you guys, you are the Slash brothers. Me, I don't. the slasher movies are really not my wheelhouse. And now that we're having to, I'm having to watch these and actually think about them while I'm watching, I get to like enjoy it a little bit more. And I can be like, well, you know what? I was just like, a little hard headed watching some of the earlier days.
Right. And for me, for a lot of people, and apparently Nico as well, there are movies I'll watch it one time and I'm like, nah, I'm good on that. Enjoy. Take care. I will go back and give it a second chance and be like, okay, this isn't that bad. Actually, Saw 2. I'm that way with Saw 2. I'm like, man, F this movie the first time I saw it. But then I've watched it 3 more times since, and I actually really love Saw 2. I think it's great. So, again, I completely understand where you're coming from.
One thing I forgot to say, this movie's special effects are incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot to say that in my rating. Special effects are amazing in this movie. The girl getting killed, the guy's like face and body like melting to the ground. Just
awesome.
Incredible special effects. Brian,
and think about it
sorry.
This way, Nico. Think how great you think it is right now, and think when this movie was made. That lasting effects that it had since like it was made in 1993, or it was released in 93, right?
Yeah, 93.
Okay.
I was 2 years old.
I was
1.
I was 10.
I was
So the
one.
fact that you speak on the special effects really tells you something about what they
Absolutely.
were
I
acting.
think the effects hold up really well, especially
Yep.
for a 93 movie. And it's kind of fun to know that now what the budget was, how he was hamstring with that and still made great effects. So I think that's really good. And look, people are going to hear this like, oh, you're hyping this movie up because you had the director on. No, go back and listen to our ranking show where me and Brian had it much, much higher than most people normally do. So just, for pretense. And by the way, opinions can change as well. I've been asked to give my go to hell on this film. Kind of funny because Jason goes to hell in this movie. So I'm actually gonna give it to Jason for this reason. One, he's barely in this damn movie. It's no fault of anyone's. He just barely is. And when he is, I don't think he's that badass. Like there's a lot more badass versions of Jason. So Jason, you can go to hell.
I don't love his look in this movie either. But
Yeah.
me and Brian differ on
right.
that. I'm not a big fan of his look.
I just don't like the mask. I'm not a fan of the way they use the mask here. But again, we learned that that's kind of not Adam's fault.
Yep.
Right.
Brian, you got those fun facts you want to close us out on?
Yeah, sure. So I wrote down too, and I think he even said it during the interview, but I wrote down that the tent kill with that girl getting split in two, I think, man, that is probably one of the most violent kills even today that I've ever seen in a horror movie. Like, I mean, and just how good it looks. I mean, just period. That was really incredible. I can't wait to hear the documentary and see all this stuff about, how they did some of this stuff for sure. Some of my fun facts, actually, he touched on, like Kane Hodder portraying both Freddy and Jason on there. Another fun fact is Candyman actor Tony Todd actually auditioned for the Duke role.
Oh, wow.
Jason's eye is on the wrong side. And I don't really like this as a nitpick, honestly. I mean, I think Kane Hodder even brought it to their attention that they actually put the hole on the wrong side on the hockey mask. And by then it was too late to kind of change it. But I don't. Why are you going to bring up continuity? Because in reality, in 7, the mask got torn in half anyway. So I don't really like that when people bring that up as a nitpick anyway. Jason's heart that he ate was actually made of gelatin and fruit, so it was disgusting, but it actually was edible. The scene with the campers was the best scene, obviously, was not even added until after. They showed it to a test group audience, and they didn't really respond well. They wanted to see more Jason killing in the forest and in the woods and stuff, and they had to add that back in later. Which now, when you go back and watch the movie, it is kind of like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. This movie was actually, according to the thing, was actually almost sent to Los Angeles. It was almost Jason Goes to Los Angeles instead of Jason Goes to New York being 8. It's actually almost goes to Los Angeles.
Hell, Los Angeles, whatever.
And let's see. Actually, another early version of the script had a mad scientist like removing Jason's heart, and the twist actually came that it was Elias Voorhees that did that. So that was an early version of the script too. So and you heard what Adam said in another version was about it being so dark. I've got 2 more here actually. Betsy Palmer, the Miss Voorhees from the first one, had turned down the role. They were going to have flashbacks of her, and they actually and she turned down. Yeah, I think it would have given it more continuity.
It would have given it ties to the other movies, which a lot of people, that's a nitpick it doesn't have. I think it would have given a lot of good ties there.
And I think that's about, like he said, with the licensing thing. I think that's just about all they could do to even try to tie it in was use that kind of stuff. The last thing was the Easter eggs. I mean, he talked about the Book of the Dead, the Necronomicon from Evil Dead. There's a crate from the movie Creepshow in there, and it actually bears the label Arctic Expedition, Julia Carpenter. So that's like a nod to the thing. And that's all the fun facts I've got there, guys. Does anybody else have any more of them? Or
nope,
I'm good. No.
23 kills, like you said, the most kills ever.
And by the way, in the Friday franchise, that's saying something. It's known for Carnage Candy, so that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, the only thing I want to say at the end is what Mike touched on. When you first see a movie and you hate it, and sometimes giving it a rewatch is definitely a good thing. If there's any movies you have a bad perception on from a younger age, give it another try. Because, like I said in our rankings, I hated this movie, but after rewatching it, I have a totally different perspective on it.
Right.
Anybody got final thoughts, or y'all ready to close this out?
I'm good, brother.
Close it out, man.
Should have asked him about Laurie Strode dying. I should have done that. Anyway,
there will
next
be another
time.
opportunity.
How about
brother.
say next time?
Just want to thank everybody for listening. Want to thank Adam Marcus one more time for being on the show. Greatly appreciated. That was, I knew it was going to be great, but it blew my mind hearing some of the things he told us. Truly grateful. And next week we're going to be reviewing 2018 Halloween, and we may or may not have another big guest for this review or interview. Y'all have a good one.
Guests.
Multiple guests, that's right. So stay tuned. And just want to remind everybody to don't go out there.